Synthetic biology is using genetic engineering to create an organism that never existed before by manipulating the genome of an already existing organism. So we can add genes, mutate genes, knock genes out to create functions in an organism that it never did before. The beautiful things about this is it's very accurate and very precise because we're just manipulating DNA, and DNA is the same code for any living organism on the planet. So we are not limited to, using genes from the same species. We can take whatever gene we want. That information will work in whatever organism we want to give it whatever traits we want. Synthetic biology can be used in medicine or anything you want. If you want to create a genetically modified plant to, for instance, remove a whole bunch of extra carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, like some super photosynthetic organism or something, you could do that. We've been doing this with plants for decades now to make virus-resistant plants, drought-resistant plants. We can do it with medicine, and cancer is a great example of using synthetic biology, like a therapeutic that targets tumor cells. DNA is just information. You can take whatever you want to code for whatever protein or a hormone enzyme product you want.
In 2017, wealthy Silicon Valley executives started paying $8,000 to get transfusions of blood from teenagers. They claimed it made them look younger, sleep better, and think faster. The FDA shut it down, calling it dangerous quackery. But here's the twist. The science behind it is absolutely real. Scientists have been sewing young mice to old mice for decades. The results are mind-blowing. Are we on the verge of a biological fountain of youth? Or playing with forces we don't understand? The dark history. This isn't new. Medieval alchemists believed drinking young blood granted immortality. Nazi doctors experimented with blood exchanges. Even Countess Elizabeth Bathory allegedly bathed in virgin blood to stay young. But in 1864, French physiologist Paul Bert performed the first scientific parabiosis experiment, surgically connecting two living animals so they shared blood. When he connected young rats to old rats, something extraordinary happened. The old rats didn't just live longer, they became physically younger. Modern science has turned this medieval fantasy into laboratory reality. The breakthrough experiments. In 2005, Stanford University scientists revived parabiosis research. They surgically joined young and old mice, creating living Siamese twins sharing one circulatory system. After just a few weeks, the old mice experienced biological time reversal. Their muscles regained strength. Their brains grew new neurons. Their hearts pumped like they were decades younger. Even their liver, kidneys, and bones showed dramatic rejuvenation. But here's the disturbing part. The young mice aged rapidly. They developed arthritis, muscle weakness, and cognitive decline. The old mice were literally stealing youth from their younger partners. A study conducted at UC Berkeley found that blood from older mice was more inhibitory to younger mice than young blood was beneficial to older ones. The molecular mystery. What's actually happening? Scientists have identified the key players. Young blood contains regenerative factors like oxytocin, which rejuvenates skeletal muscle stem cells. It's packed with proteins that promote cellular repair and growth. Old blood contains aging factors like the protein eotaxin, thought to play a role in age-related diseases where systemic inflammation occurs. These aging factors lower our ability to maintain and repair tissue. The relative abundance of aging and regenerative factors shifts as we age. At birth, our blood contains more regenerative factors. But as we get older, that balance tips toward aging factors. It's like your blood becomes poisoned by time itself.
Transhumanism is not some scientific proposal. It's a religious ideology. The idea is salvation through technology. And it's basically a program whereby people want to use technology, from digital technology to medical technology and nanotechnology, to try to quote unquote upgrade or enhance or improve human beings. So rather than using medical technology to make sick people well or to heal disease, for example, they would propose using biomedical technology to make perfectly healthy people, quote unquote, better than well, bigger, faster, stronger, smarter. So the idea of creating a sort of superhuman or a sort of second upgraded, more evolved species of human being through technology, that lies at the heart of transhumanism. The ultimate dream of the transhumanists is to somehow, at some point, upload the contents of our consciousness, upload the contents of our brains or of our minds into a huge repository of data, some digital cloud in the sky or some mainframe computer. It's actually a proposal to create some form of unending human life, such that when my body dies, I will somehow live on, or my consciousness will somehow live on. Transgenderism is the on-ramp to transhumanism. You see the basic underlying principles in both ideologies are more or less the same. The idea that my body, my physical embodiment doesn't really matter. It can somehow be altered or discarded, or it's just sort of raw material that I could use medical technology or other technology to alter or to do more or less anything I want. AI also has a potential relationship to transhumanist ideology because many of the transhumanists, for example, Yuval Harari, have proposed that human beings are basically what he calls hackable animals, and that we can use AI to surveil and monitor individuals, not just in terms of where we go and what movies we watch and what things we purchase online, all of the kind of data that's currently being harvested when we engage with digital technology. But he and others have proposed that we now take surveillance and put it under the skin, things like heart rate and blood pressure and skin conductance. Imagine watching a presidential debate and using a wearable device or perhaps an implantable device. You have something that's gathering your moment-to-moment emotional response to everything that is said as you watch each of the candidates discuss the issues. And that is being uploaded into the cloud somewhere. Well, anyone who has access to that data can know exactly what you are thinking and feeling about each of the things that transpires during that debate and each of the issues discussed, even if you never say a word, right? So that's the level of intrusion on our privacy. That's the level of surveillance that could potentially occur when we start melding this digital technology with biometric data and using that biometric data essentially to monitor exactly what people are thinking and feeling.
Hey out there, this is Buzz with TheSurvivalBuzz. Still t-shirt weather here in Oklahoma. I don't know what everybody else is experiencing out there, but I'm not going to complain one bit, man. Super nice out. Still out here in the t-shirt. So I figured I'd shoot another video out here before the rain and all that stuff closes in here in the next day or two. So I posted a few videos before this, and honestly, there's a lot more I wanted to post. These are the few that I decided on just because simply I don't feel like I'll get flagged for them. You use a lot of other people's content and stuff. They tend to flag it and give copyright and stuff like that. There's actually one guy I really wanted to use some of his videos. If you haven't heard of him, his name is Brian Johnson, and I think his channel's called Don't Die. If you get a chance, go check that out. It's pretty crazy stuff. This is the guy, I'm sure a lot of people have heard of him, that's getting like blood transfusions from his younger son, taking an insane amount of pills and supplements, and on a real strict diet and workout regimen and all this crazy stuff going on. I guess his goal is to live forever or close to it. But like I said, I didn't want to use any of his stuff because he's a billionaire, I'm pretty sure, and I'm sure I'll get flagged for it. But I figured I'd post a couple videos just to give you guys an idea of what I'm talking about. And like I said, there's a plethora of stuff out there. This is just a small, tiny surface material here. But what it comes down to is man is now to the point that we're trying to play God. And this has been going on for a while. I watched some videos on this stuff that are a decade old or more. So it's something that's been talked about for a while, and now we're actually moving into this age where technology and man are going to merge, and it's inevitable. It's happening right now in front of our eyes. How much attention you're paying to it, I have no idea. And in the book of Daniel, it actually talks about a vision of mixing clay and iron together. It's kind of a metaphor for what's going on in the world right now, man and machine merging together. And we're going to see a lot more of this, with things like Neuralink and AI advancing as fast as it is, robotics, all these sort of things. Man is simply playing God. And it's going to come to the point, how much are you really in your faith? How much do you really believe in the Father above? How much do you really believe that Jesus died for us? Because there's going to come a point, I can almost guarantee, in everybody's near future, that we're going to have to make that choice. They're going to play it off like it's the greatest thing ever since sliced bread, that we can live forever or hundreds of years, and if that's God's plan, that's great. But this isn't God's plan. This is a bunch of rich billionaires trying to play God. And it's going to get easier and easier to fall for all this, and it does talk in the Bible about one day in the end times that people are going to want to die, but they won't be able to, in a nutshell. Paraphrasing here, but there's going to be a time when people are going to be so entwined with technology, no matter how that looks, robotics or injections or whatever. People are going to be so entwined that they're going to wish they were dead at some point. And at that point, it's going to be too late. We all need to reject all of this stuff. And I constantly am talking about AI and data centers on here, and I feel like a rambling idiot at times, but I feel like it's a point that I really need to drive home. It's a point that sits on my heart by the good Lord above, that we need to reject all of this. And even things as simple as ChatGPT, I don't use any of this stuff because I'm not feeding into this algorithm that they're building. I'm not feeding into all this technology that they're creating and creating things to live on people's fears and stuff, because it will come to a point that it's like that. It will come to a point that you fed so much information into this machine. It's going to know your every whim, your desires, what you love, what you hate, what you fear. It's going to know everything about you. And I would say to a degree, it already knows quite a bit about us, but that's not to say that we need to help it any more than it's already being helped. I'm to the point that I really don't even like technology anymore. And I'm not knocking it. There's some great things that have been done with it, but we have become solely reliant on it for every aspect of our life. And now we're trying to intermingle with it. We're trying to intertwine with it and live forever. That is not God's plan for us. And to even fathom that this is where I want to spend eternity is insane. This physical world that we live in is not it. And I wish people could come to realize the truth. I wish people could come to realize who the Father is above, and that this plane of existence that we're living in isn't everything. Nor would I want it to be, nor should you. But there's going to come a time in our near future, probably the 2030s, I would guess, that we're all going to have to make that decision. First day talking. We're going to have to make that decision if we want to intermingle with technology. We're going to have to make the decision on whether we want to take a digital ID and be part of this beast system, or have robotics, connected to us, or implants or whatever it may be. We're going to all have to make that decision in our near future. And I hope people can see this. I hope people can see the writing on the wall. This stuff isn't slowing down regardless of how we feel about it. But there's going to come a point, if you're a God-fearing person and you believe in the Father above, you're going to have to deny all of this stuff. You're going to have to separate yourself from the system. And everybody that believes in the Lord above has got to get accustomed to this idea that you're going to have to leave everything that you have. You can't take it with you anyways. And I sure as crap don't want to live here the rest of my life, or not life, but afterlife. I don't want to be stuck here. You know, there's that crazy old movie with Goldie Hawn, I think Meryl Streep, called Death Becomes Her. And that's pretty much what it's about, is they tap into the fountain of youth to some degree, and at the end of the movie, they're falling apart from falling down and things. Their body is wrecked, but they can't die. And that's what we're moving into. And we're all going to have to make a decision at some point in the near future if we want to detach from all of this. The Father above loves us all, and I can't imagine how he feels about all of this crazy stuff going on in the world, all the evil. The sooner that we try to detach ourselves as much as we possibly can, and like I said, that means not even using ChatGPT or AI music makers and video makers and all that stuff, man. You know, it's hard to even find a video anymore that isn't loaded with AI shit all over it. Excuse my language. We have to make a stand against this stuff now while we still can. But like I said, there's going to come a time in the near future where you're going to have to separate yourself and not be a part of this crazy society that they want. But that's the direction we're being pushed with digital IDs and Neuralink and things like that. They want us to be so connected and have so much control over our lives. And that's completely what it is about. It's about control. All this digital ID stuff is about control. They're going to make it sound great. And I would almost guarantee, you know, everybody keeps talking about these Trump sending out $2,000 checks to everybody. I would almost guarantee if that even happens, I'll believe it when I see it. But if it does happen, you're going to have to sign up for some type of digital ID or something. And that's the only way you're going to get it. So time to make a stand, guys. Which side of the fence are you on? Do you believe in God? Or do you believe in this physical world that we live in that the devil seems to be running? God bless y'all, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Later.